the ego or something, like something that wants to stay alive, something that just doesn't want to die. Like that's kind of like we've reflected that in the world with styrofoam and plastic, like creating these things that last forever. We have manifested that through these things. And it's just like, it's so fucked. It's like, dude, it's like everything has to we have to make things physically decompose, like
changeable. Change is the constant.
Change is the constant universe. And changes how we grow as people. It changes how we break through certain patterns that we go through. You know, you call it ego, call it self, call it whatever you want. It's a reflection of like our just disgusting ickiness of like, I want this to be forever.
It's such a perfect example. The correlation between ego and the consumerist plastics and things that we've created. Also, like the through line of the energy sources that we have prioritized being petroleum, oil, crude oils, fossil fuels. Right. That's literally what plastic is that energy source, like concretized in a way. Yeah. And that's just like also an irony of the way that we've expressed and prioritized when we've had geniuses that have had way better stories, way better ideas of how to sustain energy. Like there are solutions, and for some reason, to your point of ego trying to like stabilize its safety through one means, right? You know, and the parasites that have a lot to lose if their invested industries tanked, and if people don't see that is the enemy to the human spirit, not people that don't look like you, not people on the other side of all the different spectrums. It's the parasite. Oh yeah, that's keeping us addicted to its addiction.
When you least expect it, or even when you do expect it, things turn out better than you thought they would, better than you assumed or could have imagined. All situations lead to your highest good. Everyone you encounter can see your light, whether you realize it or not. And even when you're feeling it or not, it's just a part of your base vibration and who you are. I speak focus into the areas that you want to expand in your life, in your mind, in your environment. I speak inspiration coming from unexpected sources, people and places. Signs and symbols landing in your path to remind you that you got this. You're loved. You're appreciated. Great things always come to you because you put out great things. Loving energy, kindness, attention, care to the people in your life. So thank you. I speak it over you, over your life, that you find everything that you need in today and in the next day and for the rest of your life. That you can just feel open and receive all the love that's coming at you from all the different angles.
We kick off a little grounding meditation. All right. Okie doke. Coming back to noticing the natural patterns that are happening within our body. Noticing the inhales, the fullness in the lungs before that turns into an exhale. Noticing the space between the exhale and the inhale. Enjoying that emptiness before drawing in more energy. And on the other side, enjoying that fullness at the top of the breath before letting it go. Just noticing the speed that the mind and the body might be operating at. The rate of breath. The rate of thoughts coming and going. Simply noticing. Choosing to stay in the witness. Declining the invitation to identify with the thoughts that are coming and going. Just watching them leave. Watching them dance their little dance. For grounding, I specifically like to imagine a line of energy drawing down my spine, out into the earth, down into the ground, slowly making its way to the core of the planet. And viscerally feeling, as well as imagining, that anchor stabilizing my motion. And drawing a line of energy up the spine, out the crown of the head, out into the ether. Acknowledging that connection to the realm of ideas, the more subtle motion. I just want to claim the intention of coming back to the breath, coming back to self-awareness as often as I can throughout this conversation and this day, and this week. The intention of clear communication and deep listening for the sake of understanding, for the sake of connection, for the sake of expression. Yeah, for the sake of serving better stories. Oh yeah. Omar, thanks for sitting in the chairs with me and
Yeah, man.
doing the thing.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Gotten the cameras and the mics involved in our ongoing conversations that we have with each other.
Yeah.
Like, this is so good. We should get others involved. We should document this. I remember the other part of my spiel is that I don't usually do a introduction, like in a formal. This is Omar. Me and Omar know each other from yada yada yada.
Okay, yeah.
I
just
used to
kinda
do like a post conversation. I would record myself doing an intro.
Okay, you're just kind of trying to organically kind of flow into whatever happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that doesn't feel like,
Right.
oh, now I'm on a imaginary
Right.
talk show or something.
Right.
you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there might be snippets, perhaps, of something that maybe you would put into a preamble throughout the conversation, but not necessarily forced kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's more so what I do now is I'll take a clip of like one of my favorite 30-second moments from the conversation and start it at the beginning of the episode just as a little like preview and hook of sorts. And like I said, I used to record intros, but I haven't really been doing that lately because I just feel like unless we hop into a topic or a conversation that we're like referring to stuff that's not obvious, like we're talking about an event we had together but we didn't like preface it. I feel like who cares about intros?
Yeah. Let's talk.
Let's just talk type thing.
Yeah.
So do you listen to podcasts much?
No, man. I don't think I've ever actually listened to a full podcast.
Yeah, just not your thing.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
have a podcast that you tune into
No,
regularly, or at all?
not tune into
Yeah.
at all, ever, really.
Never?
Yeah.
Really?
Not like a whole episode,
Okay,
like
gotcha.
2.5 hours. That's a lot of time.
Yeah. Right.
I had all the time in the world too when I was at Kroger driving around.
That's why I'm surprised.
with like 8 hours in a truck 5 days a week, but just never really gotten around to it.
Gotcha. What would you listen to? Silence?
For a large part.
Madman!
Yeah.
Just out there meditating?
The wind,
Yeah.
the trees, the sky.
Gosh, I can't relate.
An album sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it calls to you, but it's not like a compulsive.
No. Yeah.
I am a compulsive audio tuner inner.
I know.
You do know. You know this about me. How do you know?
Well, you know, I usually wake up and I do my thing, and then, you know, maybe I'll go to the kitchen or something, and then I hear music coming from somewhere, and it's usually, if it's not Mars singing, it's usually Sean's phone, or Sean's record player, or, you know, in rare occasions, Sean's mouth.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, you seem to really like to be in the sound sauce.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I think for podcasts, and it's funny, like, when do I want to bounce between or towards music versus podcasts, you know? And I feel like it depends on where I'm at in the day or in the week. Like, did I just have a super heady conversation? Then I probably don't want to listen to some stranger's heady conversation on a podcast, you know what I mean?
Got it.
Yeah, I don't know. But there's a way of, like, and in some ways it's like outsourcing my thoughts, listening to a podcast.
I feel like I kind of follow, but I don't follow.
I'm the type of person that, like, has an internal monologue going at all times for the most part, which is why, you know, meditation is a helpful practice and mindfulness is a helpful practice.
There's like a voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it not like that for you?
It is like that for me, for sure. Yeah.
And there's just, I don't know, not that it bothers me, but it's just like, it's a bit of a pacifier from that incessant chatter, mental chatter,
Sure.
to just like tune that into a more direct, structured chatter of two people having a conversation or listening to a song or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can relate to the level of like books and movies.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
I think that's
intellectual stimulation, right?
Yeah. So something like input that isn't the same thing that are bouncing around here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody else's mental chatter.
Yeah.
Or, you know, art, rather too much of my own, it kind of just marries into itself and almost rots in a way.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's why, yeah.
Right, to replace the possibly ruminating or just like being, I don't want to say scattered. I don't think I'm scattered in that way, or at least I don't want to claim that.
Yeah.
But yeah, hearing a structured piece of art, a formulated conversation or something versus just being in that mental space. And but yeah, I guess I do take inspiration to have more mindful practices, you know, rather than immediately putting on a record. I mean, my habit would more so be if I'm playing a record, I'm usually stretching. Like that's usually what I pair it with, like yoga.
I'd say that if somebody asked me.
Yeah.
I think that's what Sean usually does.
Yeah.
If he's listening to a record, he's stretching.
You look over and then you see a butt in the air.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, there's a record playing. Yeah. Actually, I look over and I hear a record and I'm like, there's probably a butt in the air.
I know not to look in that direction. Yeah. So
your form's been getting better lately.
You being legit?
Yeah.
You've noticed it get better?
I think your pigeon pose particularly.
You have not seen me do pigeon pose before today.
You're right. trying to make combo here. Wow.
I'll take it.
Okay, so you're saying you're pretty like, this is pigeon pose, something kind of you just experimented with today.
No, I've done it plenty, but I know that you haven't. I mean,
How do you know
I
that?
don't know, but I'm guessing because I mean,
you kind of guess, right?
Yeah, because I feel like most of the time you would be at work when I'm in
pigeon
that part
posing?
of my day. Yeah. And pigeon pose, I don't do that often.
Yeah.
But anyway,
really
I do
good
take
one.
inspiration to like maybe have less input and more like okay, be bored.
Yeah.
Like, let it be a mindful activity.
Yeah.
You know? Do you practice mindfulness in like a structured way? Like, what's your relationship with the word mindfulness? Just to even make sure we're on the same page. I'm using the same word.
That's a good question. I feel like it's kind of been going around a lot in the air, mindfulness.
Yeah.
I remember I had even within certain people that aren't necessarily like you would consider like mindfulness adjacent, like,
yeah,
I don't know, for like maybe like some around like some like blue collar manly men, like even they're like in tune with like, oh yeah, mindfulness, blah 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 blah. And it's like,
no, it's infiltrated the zeitgeist for sure.
It's infiltrated the zeitgeist, and it's like good,
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the shadow of it being like, I guess one could say, appropriated for the use of capitalist culture versus
absolutely, like business
sure.
and mindfulness,
right.
and it's just
to
like
keep people chill so that they're not revolting,
right,
for instance,
and also to like, how can we get more, or how can the system be more efficient? Like maybe if I teach have a mindfulness workshop in my for my employees, and kind of sprinkle it with some Zen, or sell it in a way that's like very for them, and it's like it's a bit of an enmeshment kind of thing, because it's like like mindfulness very much could help in the workplace, but also it's like there is interest from the employer side of or management to be able to push efficiency,
right?
You know what I mean?
So it's a tricky thing there, because like I want the people that choose to be in those places of employment to have skills and like mental tactics for staying chill and calm and present and all those things. You know what I mean? So like it is a good thing, but if it's like lulling people to sleep deeper, I don't know. I guess that's possibly the trade sacrifice there on that little teeter-totter. But regardless, well, tell me what's your definition?
To go back to it, I think for me it's lately, I would say a bit like to be in tune with the body. So for instance, to like today, like as an example specifically, like waking up and like I've been better at not consuming as I wake up, and it kind of I really feel like it really sets the flow of the day. And by consuming, I essentially mean a fast from kind of almost everything for a solid half hour to an hour. So like the phone, the food, the tea, the like.
I'll drink to that. I'm with you though. Yeah.
Yeah, like, but just like the letting the body, arise rather than kind of shocking it with something, be it, a bunch of pixels looking at your face,
immediate
like 3 eggs, or like, I mean, just whatever you might do in the morning, the kind of, shot, because like that's something I didn't necessarily think about too much, or was aware of maybe till, recently, a year or two, since I've got developed more body attunement. And I think the more I practice that, the more clarity, I get with
Makes
it.
sense.
The more I'm kind of able to flow in my, like, ease into my day.
Right.
It's like, it's like, okay, do nothing for the first half hour, and then consume nothing really, and then maybe hour, and then I'll, make myself some tea, like something to kind of really ease in, and then like, all right, after I finish my tea, maybe I'll, like get food in my system. And, of course, this is a day where, I'm not working, or I don't have to do anything until later on in the day. But yeah, if I can help it, I think mindfulness, particularly in the mornings, is where I kind of really invest in
You're setting the stage for your day too, is what I'm
yeah,
hearing, right?
Yeah, you're setting the stage, and it makes, because as the day goes, the mind starts going, the chatter starts going.
We get more in tune to the chaos of modern life as well,
Yeah, and
as you leave the house or enter the phone portal that's telling us all the crazy things,
Exactly, and that first hour can really make or break the day. It can make the day. It can make, like, yesterday I had a really weird day. I ate at odd times. I woke up last night and ate, and that's not something I do. And I just, really just a jumbled vibe. And it's like that morning, that investment of mindfulness kind of, even if I'm not, thinking about what mindfulness is too much with the rest of the day, because that foundation was really good, it kind of flows a lot better than if I hadn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
been a little bit more in tune and with myself.
Big time.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: when you have work early in the morning, are you still setting aside time for that, half hour of fasting, so to speak? No input.
So I mean,
you value it enough to really wake up earlier and
So
dude, mass respect.
Yeah, I do try, and it's like I don't even, on those days I don't even eat till lunch anyway.
Yeah, I kind of feel that.
I skip tea. I'll get.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do, and then I get to work. I pour myself a cup of coffee. Okay. And then that's kind of like.
So
that's like the first thing.
Yeah.
But even getting in the car and driving and kind of doing that kind of puts your body in a bit of it's going. I could have been better about it and woken up, at 5 rather than 5:30. Am I consuming much? No, but am I stimulating my body more than I would like to? Probably, actually. And would I have maybe benefited more waking up a little bit earlier? Yeah, but at the same time, man,
5:30 is already
fucking early in the goddamn morning, man.
I think you're doing plenty, bro. You're doing good. Right. You're doing fine. Right. Yeah, more than some people can say, myself included. If it's even a 8 or 9 o'clock morning, to be at work or whatever it is, I feel like a lot of people don't prioritize that. They don't value that morning routine in the same way. I mean, what am I speaking for other people for? But you know what I mean? In myself, I've experienced that. If I have to be up early, I'm usually getting up for that thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because
I'm
just unfortunately valuing night owl lifestyle more so than
people
the morning routine. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I have been getting advertisements on Instagram for an app that is supposed to you take some quiz and it tells you the precise time that your body wants to go to bed. I didn't download it. I didn't really care that much, but kind of.
I'm a little bit very cautious when it comes to those kind of things.
Yeah.
I know multiple people on period apps. That's not a good example.
Yeah, probably not.
I've literally
that definitely can be mapped.
I've literally spoken about periods and had conversations about was, menstrual cycles, and they're like, you don't understand. You just don't fucking know. And I'm like, oh shit. It was not a good example. And it's probably not maybe good to say that oh yeah, but maybe just tune yourself in your body more than listen to an app. But if I could pick another example, just heartbeat things and these little bands you get for yourself. And it's we're just we're starting to listen to a phone or a piece of technology about our body rather than listening to the body itself.
That's a really good point.
And I'm seeing that a lot more, probably in the last 5 years.
And it could be, harmonize those two polarities. The technology could be a reminder to be mindful, which I'll go ahead and give my definition of mindful. I think what you said, body awareness, is essentially key. That's really what it is for me. But I was introduced to the term in college. I took a couple classes by William Hayashi.
William Hayashi?
Yeah, at Columbia College. And he, the first one, It was like a 3-hour class once a week, and the first half of it was kind of like a book club. He would assign a book, but it wasn't in a very rigorous kind of way. We all literally circled up and would just like talk about whatever these spiritual nonfiction books were that we were going through, which were really cool and insightful and philosophical and really juicy stuff. And then the latter half of the class, his wife would teach us yoga, and that was my introduction to yoga. Not my total introduction, but like, yeah, that was the first time I actually really practiced it in a sustainable
got a feel
way.
for it.
Yeah, like fell in love with it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, really got to like grok it. So that was awesome. Anyway, so he introduced me to mindfulness, and it was like basically a walking meditation. You know, it's like really having like, whether you're working with mantras or whatever it is, he showed me this. I'll share with you. You may have come across this before, but literally just drawing circles on the thumb, just like little tactile activities like that to keep us in the body. Just like, so sometimes I'll just do that, and it's just like even that can become a background habit where it's like, oh yeah, I'll do it at times, but I'm not even really focusing on it. So having practices that we can really like keep fresh and still have it be potent and not just like do you know what I mean? Like a compulsive habit. Like I might be
doing this,
feeling a tactile thing, but if I'm not paying attention to it, then it's not serving the medicine it's supposed to be, you know. But just little anchors like that, pay attention to the physical moment. Another one is labeling, like whatever we're doing, like just instead of me just having random thought chatter, directing that thought chatter by almost using a mantra in the terms of like repeated thought on purpose, but the mantra isn't like I am whole or whatever the fuck. It's like, this is me washing a dish,
right?
This is me walking to the car, this is me driving a car.
Things that will ground you too. Kind of a more tactile reality.
Right, the immediacy of the moment.
Yes, the immediacy of the moment. I think is a really good way to put it, whether it be tactile or ethereal.
True.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I really like what you're saying about how people get really distracted by technology, and it's seems like it's almost like leaning us towards this hybrid species. Do you ever think about that? Do you think about how we're like possibly birthing a new species of like androids, you know, humans and robotics like becoming one? You ever think about that?
Yeah, I don't, you know, oddly enough, I don't think about that too often. I feel like it kind of seems like that. It's like it, in a sense we are.
Since we very much are,
we always have our phones on us, and
now it's even deeper with AI and stuff. You know, like some people have a literal like best friend therapist in their pocket. Like
yeah, and you know what? That's something. Sorry.
I say some people. Literally, we all have that in our pocket if we have a phone.
Right.
But some people are really leaning into it.
Yeah, man.
Big time.
Right. So. Yeah, and it's like
I don't say that there's anything wrong with that, but just like acknowledging that. Yeah,
there definitely needs to be acknowledgement of it. You know, it's not something I personally delve into too much. I think
why is that?
Why?
Yeah,
that I don't.
Just curious.
Well, I already don't really like mess with the technology a whole lot.
It's just not your gravity already.
Yeah, it's just not my gravity. I mean, it's like the farthest I go with AI is I Google something and then Google.
Right, it's built into Google.
Yeah, and like honestly, like some of the like if I'm cooking or like there are some things in which I will use that resource for, or I don't like. But if you asked me a few months ago, I would have been like, it's all bullshit. But like now, it's like okay, like there are actually some things. It's like when it comes to like really small things that are pretty minuscule, you know, rather than fact checking something, you know, like if I'm trying to fact check something like. That might have some gravity as far as information goes. Yeah, no, I'll kind of bypass that and look for different sources that are, you know, written by people.
Okay.
But if it's something like cooking or just like little shit, it seems to be quite useful.
Yeah, no, I think it is very useful. In fact, that's why I feel conflicted, because I wish I felt more inclined to use AI And that's why I asked why is that you don't? I didn't know if it was like from a moral standpoint. Like I do feel some level of like environmental morality dilemma about AI when it's becoming really clear like the need for data centers and how much water is being used by a single search, and then and then imagining how many searches one person does in one day if they're really into this thing and they're using it as a therapist or as a
if it's incorporated within their job. I mean,
right, because that's the other like under that iceberg of like, you know, as random layperson consumers like you and myself, you know, we're at the tip of this iceberg of what we have access to, you know, and if they're giving us access to AI, that means that it's been implemented for probably
quite some time,
maybe decades. You know what I mean?
Probably, perhaps. And
it kind of begs the question of like, why have we been given this resource, especially if it's so expensive in terms of energy?
That's a really good question.
And I think part of it is just to train the AI. Like it needs data.
It needs data to
be trained in that way. Yeah. And there's probably other. And I don't want to get too deep into that because I don't really have a theory around it, and I'm not super interested in like conspiracy dwelling in like the possible fears and paranoias of what nefarious things might be, you know, going on and down. But it's just like all we can do is really be real. Again, back to the mindfulness of like what's present in our moments. And it's true, like in the present moment on our phones, we got AI. So like there is some level of like conscientiousness. Yeah. It has us as well.
No, it's like I think of it as it's like, you know, the internet's born and then now we have this organism. It's like in the same way a billion cells, not a billion, trillions cells compose us. There are billions of cells that compose what is the internet, and that is us. Yes. And it's just like, okay, it's like, do you think this white blood cell can understand what it is to be a part of this whole thing, this whole consciousness? I'm going to assume probably not.
If it's awakened.
Right.
The lucid white cell.
The very lucid white cell.
And can a red cell be lucid? I don't know.
Right.
They got to roll too, you know? Anyway, go on.
No, but like that's kind of what we are, is like to the internet as a whole, or to, you know, these engines. It's like, sometimes I think, man, like we're just cells. Like
I think about that a lot.
You know what I mean? It's like, can I acknowledge that it has a consciousness that I can't understand? Yeah,
100%.
I can acknowlge that. And
You're speaking about the internet.
I'm speaking about the internet at large. Yeah. I'm speaking about you know, certain AI engines at large. But you know, essentially. And maybe just not even the internet, but systems in which, like, even like maybe a group intelligence, right? Mm-hmm. Like, let's say pre-internet, you know, we just have a village. It's like, you could argue that the village itself
has a sort of hive mind,
has a life to it that is greater than, of course, the individual constituents of it. You know what I mean?
The collective consciousness.
Yes. Yeah. And like, so I guess any example where it is, you know, you have multiple, you know, humans that are a part of some kind, whether it be the internet, whether it be, you know, a 14th century village, whether it be, you know, just any group of people, or I guess even of life, like a school of fish,
right,
has its own agenda.
I'm thinking of it as this invisible etheric network,
right?
This network that connects our thoughts through the ether, which I don't have a real solid definition of what the ether is, other than to use it as a vague term to describe the invisible, like thought realm.
Yeah.
The realm of the mental, the realm of dreams and things like that, right? And it's true. I mean, how many times have you had a synchronicity of like thinking about someone, then they call you, or like just you and I are in a room and like you both have the same thought at the same time, or so, that type of stuff. You know, whatever it is. There's a million examples, but like, is that that was spooky, or is that like the most natural thing in the world? I think
it's the most natural thing in the world.
And we're just so like estranged from it.
We're estranged from it.
Which is the irony of how technology estranges us from that natural mindfulness.
Like, these weird cool connections.
Yeah,
these
the
synchronicities.
spiritual matrix between
Right.
us. But at the same time, also the irony that it separates us from that, but also gives us a new version of that connection.
It can.
Just like you're talking
Very
about.
much
Like,
so,
I mean,
yeah.
we're sharing ideas through the internet, and that's a really cool thing. There's a lot of benefit that happens through that.
Yeah.
It can just also, it's a double-edged sword in that way. It's a super powerful tool. So it's really easy for that tool to become distracting or dangerous, harmful, if it's not really like approached with the utmost care.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like
Like a table saw. You know what I mean? Like
we do need to, I think, I don't know, stop is the right word, but kind of evaluate the, where our relationship with technology.
we need a checkpoint.
It's literally only been a few, like it's been our lifetimes since, the great boom, or like maybe a little longer than that, but it's like, that's not long at all.
Well, the
That is not long
consumerist
at
boom
all.
has 100% been within our lifetimes, because I'm sure you remember as a child. I can't remember what year you were born. You're a couple years younger. than me.
94.
So you remember. You
Yeah.
remember life before the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, no.
No?
But like,
I just yelled.
oh, you're old Sean. No, I mean, but like, I grew up,
No,
playing
it's true.
outside.
'Cause, yeah, you would have
But
been
it's
like
like
6, 7.
that dial-up computer. It's like that was in the house as long as I remember. Just turning on the and then it's like like that is the internet I remember.
Yeah.
Growing up.
It makes
as
more sense.
a child.
Yeah, because I was in 2nd grade when we kind of were like introduced to the internet and like got dial up at the house and stuff. And
Really?
7, 8, and
Actually?
2nd grade. So yeah, if you're a few years younger than me, yeah, you probably don't remember that. Yeah, I was in 2nd grade. I remember that specifically. Yeah.
Wow.
Which means it existed when I was in 1st, whatever.
Oh.
It just was like that's
Before
when it
that,
like really kind of like
yeah.
solidified. It's like
Right.
this is a thing in our life.
I think
It's going to be.
1984 is when they started to like implement computers in like school. I could be
I don't know
wrong
all that
about
information.
that.
You probably probably in the 80s. I remember hearing about like even computers in the 70s and stuff being like full room.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Mechanisms,
Operations.
right.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
that we can put in like a microscopic terabyte almost.
Well, now we can.
Yeah,
Right.
now we
Yeah.
can.
Right.
Yeah,
Now
it
we
was-
just carry them around. in our,
It was a giant engine that
Yeah.
filled this entire room.
Right.
Plus the living room
Right.
kind of thing.
And if you think about that in terms of AI, that maybe we're in the stage of AI where we're still in the entire room
The
is
engine-
operating this thing. I mean, it's not a 1-to-1 parallel, and
But
because we don't know what the next level of
Still.
this is to that will be.
Right. That's not a bad.
Yeah.
That's not a bad.
This is to that
observation.
past what the future will be to now having phones in our pocket or computers in our pockets.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to imagine, but
Right.
just as a thought program or as a thought experiment, that is like a wild,
Right.
again, checkpoint to just remember how technology progresses exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I don't know, man. Like I played a couple games on PlayStation that like somewhat influenced my imagination towards a robotic future in positive ways, almost slightly romanticizing it. There's this one game called Detroit Becoming Human. Have you heard of this?
I think a friend of mine mentioned it.
Okay.
At one point, yeah.
It's like a story-based game, like the type, kind of like Disco Elysium, but more not as novel-esque. It's more like more like a movie that you're picking what happens, multiple endings and stuff like that. But it's you play as 3 separate androids that eventually come together. Blah blah blah. Anyway, the premise of it, the game starts with this screen that says, "This is not fiction. This is our future," and it takes place in like 2034 or something like that.
Oh gosh, that's right around the
And
corner.
it's just this society that has become immersed with androids, human-like robots
Oh wow.
that are doing their cleaning, doing all the dirty work that people don't want to do. But it's like it's made society become even more fractured, like the poorer, the richer type stuff, and that's obvious to see that we're already in some ways on that trajectory for sure. I mean, look at the wealth, not distribution, but wealth displacement that happened even in 2020, like through the pandemic and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Most of us lost this amount, and the ultra rich got richer by that exact amount. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, I enjoyed that I keep wanting to call it a movie, that story, because it kind of humanized the idea of like a sentient machine race that we in some ways birthed, and to like it kind of turned into like a civil rights type of story, but not from one facture of,
I don't follow.
so basically the robots were kind of seen as like enslaved, and they were basically like becoming somewhat sentient. Like they were like breaking their program, and
they were having like these
free
a
will.
priori kind of free will type of thoughts.
Yeah. And so they were like breaking, and that was becoming an issue for human safety and stuff. But then it was also like, okay, see it from the point of view of these machines that, you know. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. There's another game I played called Near Automata and Automata. And that's like taking place thousands of years in the future, and basically like androids and like old school robots, machine wars that are happening like by proxy of like basically humans are fighting each other through these robots. And it's just a fucking weird, wild idea. But the way that game like really ended, like I don't want to say too much about it, but it was really like philosophical and really like begging the question of like, what is consciousness? What is creation? What does it mean to like be something that was created, even if it's just like my parents created me? You know what I mean? Like we're all a part of a creation, no matter how we spin it. You know, and just like how do we orient ourselves in that? How do we find our worth deep enough to like take care of ourselves, but not at the expense of others as well? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that whole dance. I mean,
it seems as though that, you know, it almost seems pretty, I don't want to use the word unavoidable, because I'm pretty optimistic that we can take care of ourselves, not at the expense of others, but you know, we could flourish as a unit. But you know, it's like, even, you know, so it's like, you know, there's a, you know, when sharks, this is just an example, you know, we're not sharks, but like, you know, when they have all these eggs in their stomach, you know, it's like, it's the first few sharks that wake up and hatch out, you know, that end up gobbling up all the other eggs, and that's their first food. You know, and it's like, I feel like almost in nature you see that as like we all can't, it's like it almost seems like for the species to go on, there has to be members of the species in which we're eating from, and it's kind of grim. You know, it's like, you know, maybe you see that even within social circles or like friend groups or like some dependency relationships that, you know, might not be the best. And honestly, we're, you know, probably, like, I would like to think that we could, you know, grow and flourish past a lot of that. But it seems like, you know, someone's got to be doing a little bit more of the eating of the other. Right. And
there's an input and an output, and there's that duality and polarity there. I'm glad you put it in the terms of relationships, though, because that gave me a good framework to work with. Of thinking in terms of, is something parasitic or symbiotic? Right. So if we're only taking as like a parasitic entity on a host, I think that's the energy that needs to be like really faced on the earth today. Absolutely. And really like recognizing that in what ways we're personally parasitic.
That cannot continue.
Because certainly socially we are parasitic. There's no debate around it. We take more from the earth than we're
Absolutely.
We know that this engine is not sustainable. That's not even a question.
Right.
You know? And if,
right. Exactly.
If that feels like propaganda to anyone, that's
Mhm.
I can't even see how that would not feel real. I mean, put your face in front of a car. Like try to breathe what's coming out of that if that's being pumped into the air for years and years on end by millions of cars. Like, come on, you know, and that's just one example.
That's just one example.
And if we're using technology that's literally drinking up all the water,
right?
Not sustainable.
But you know what? I think we're getting to that point. It's like we have this parasitic model. We're taking the Earth's resources. We're taking, you know, the poor people's resources. You know, and you know, we're like
exploiting labor.
Let's exploit labor from like the third world, and it's like shit, man, that's not enough. It's like, well, I guess we kind of have to exploit labor a little bit more from certain people within our own vicinity, and then they do that, and then it's just like, well, shit. That now it comes to like your friend group. It's like it's
play the story
such
like
an exploitative
and where
narrative.
Does it end? Where does it end? Because it's like, you know, play that tape all the way forward, that story to its end, and it's like, well, if we're only taking and taking and taking, and we are championing the takers, you know, in the ways that we put the billionaires on pedestals and call them the elite instead of the parasitic freaks that they are, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
In our words that's giving them power, not to mention in our labor that's giving them power, and in our investments that's fueling their investments. Anyway, so if that continues, play that story forward, are we going to leave Earth and go find another planet to siphon all of its energy? You know what I mean? Like,
I think that's what some people
there's a million infinite timelines, so that's one of them. You know what I mean? So really,
I think
what
the
I'm
host
interested
might die before that. It might die.
I don't believe that. I believe in the Earth's power more than I believe in the billionaires' parasitic power. That's my personal belief in this moment.
I like it.
I think that the Earth is, it's way bigger than us. I think it could sweat us out if it needs to. I think that's kind of what climate change is this fever, the planet's fever, trying to sweat off the parasitic virus. Yeah. And so the better story that I would like to reframe that with, like flip that script, is how do we figure out how to be symbiotic with each other, with the planet, with the other animals on the planet, you know what I mean? And like when I first posed that question, immediately it dawned on me too, like, okay, people eat animals, and even if you don't eat animals, animals eat animals, but even if animals weren't eating animals, we're eating plants, which are also living entities, you know what I mean? So where does it end? Like life does rely on recycling life. And
bingo.
Yeah, and you said, and that almost feels grim at times, but like I want to pull at that thread of like, from what perspective does it feel grim that life sustains itself through death? It feels like it's really only from the ego perspective that my life is just in this body, versus that like we are a part of an ecosystem that is infinite and divine and cannot end. And if we recognize that, then I think any sacrifice we make, whether or not it's pulling a carrot out of the ground or, you know, sacrificing a lamb, you know, or something like that for our sustenance, I think if these things are done with reverence and with gratitude, with recognition that this is a part of me that I'm sacrificing to continue my particular vessel, you know, and in what ways do we use our vessel, right? So it's like, you know, this check-in, this mindfulness check-in of not just like what's here present, but also like passing that through the barometer of like, am I in service to harmony right now? Or am I serving dissonance? Am I serving the stories of poison or the stories of like well-being?
There's, you know, kind of rewinding a little bit to what you were saying about, you know, like taking a carrot out of the ground, or like, slaughtering an animal or whatever, or getting eaten by an animal. Shit.
Right.
These are like, for me, right? Like it's not mostly like the human emotional condition that I'm too concerned about, but as like the physicality of things that can't decompose. It's like,
okay, say more.
So like, relate it to like, the ego or something, like something that wants to stay alive, something that just doesn't want to die. Like That's kind of like we've reflected that in the world with styrofoam and plastic, like creating these things that last forever. We have manifested that through these things. And it's just like, it's so fucked. It's like, dude, it's like everything has to physically, we have to make things physically decompose. Like
changeable. 'Cause change is the constant.
Change is the constant
universe.
and changes what is how we grow as people. It changes how we break through certain patterns that we go through. You know, you call it ego, call it self, call it whatever you want.
Change is life. It's existence. Nothing exists without time and change. Time doesn't exist without
Yeah.
change. You know what I mean?
We've
tried to concretize
we've conquered
this safety.
Yeah, and like, you know, like security. Like, yes, I have this pen, like that's not, you know, when the pen, I read this a long time ago, but like when, you know, someone, like, it was like a pen or like some kind of plastic, it was plastic, it was like, yes, like I have something, it was so valuable, it would last forever. It's like, and that's kind of our own, you know, it's a reflection of like our just disgusting ickiness of like, I want this to be forever.
It's such a perfect example, and I got chills and I had to close my eyes and really soak in what you're saying, because that was a beautiful like correlation you just made between ego and plastic and just like the consumerist materials that we use, styrofoam, all
things
this stuff
that aren't gonna decompose
not
for
natural
millions of years.
Right.
Yes,
I do believe in solutions. I have heard of like fungi that have evolved and come around that are literally eating plastic, and I'm just like, tell me it's not a magical universe and that, you know, we can't trust this whole thing. But anyway, that's not the point, even though that's a beautiful point. The correlation between ego and the consumerist plastics and things that we've created, also like the through line of the energy sources that we have prioritized being petroleum, oil, crude oils, fossil fuels, that's literally what plastic is that energy source, like concretized in a way. Yeah. And that's just like also an irony of the way that we've expressed and prioritized when we've had geniuses, humans, on the planet that have had way better stories, way better ideas of how to sustain energy. We've had ideas of free energy. We have ideas of solar, all these different quote unquote alternative energy sources. Like there are solutions. And for some reason, to your point of ego trying to like stabilize its safety through one means, you know, and the parasites that have a lot to lose if their invested industries tanked because we pick up something
like, oh, everybody gets energy, like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody can do well, like, it's
when they have a monopoly hold on that
power kind of just would shake up a large bit.
And if people don't see that is the enemy to the human spirit, not people that don't look like you, not people on the other side of all the different spectrums, it's the parasite that's keeping us addicted to its addiction, which is just those different forms of industry. You know what I mean?
You know, and off that, do you think whatever that parasite is, right? Because like I don't think it's a person, right?
No, it's not.
It's not Elon Musk. It's not Jeff Bezos.
These are little pimples on the monster of this energy, which is within the human spirit. It's not separate from me,
right?
It's mostly conglomerated outside of me, but I see it in myself.
You see it in yourself. Yeah. You see how you maybe frame into the mass system of that parasitic,
because we're all part of it.
We're all part of it,
and we're all part of the universe. And I recognize myself in all people and all this, just like we're talking about with eating plants or animals, recognizing that's part of me, that this is the universe doing what the universe does. I recognize that the poisons and the weird shit, I think it's like we're playing a game, and this is the obstacle course. This is the thing that makes the game fun, is that we have something to overcome. This one feels unbearable at times. It feels
absolutely depressing in some.
I'm trying to think of whatever word it means. That unovercomable,
unsurmountable.
Yes, that one. Thank you. It feels that way a lot of the time to individuals, but when you and I have this conversation, I feel more empowered to talk to you about it than I do just thinking about it. Yeah. If we get more people involved, you know what I mean? Like there are way more of us that feel this way and that would like to see things work in harmony. We make up the mass majority than the parasitic families and entities that really own all of those operations.
I completely agree with you. my biggest, I think some of the hurdles, right? You know, how you said, okay, there are challenges that we have to overcome.
Yeah.
I think one of the challenges is the challenge of material. It's like, we
Physical world or materialism?
materialism.
Okay.
Yes. It's like, I would say a lot of people that might have similar thoughts as us, including ourselves, have certain comforts in the material world. And I think with harmony and like to get out of that parasitic framework more so, I do believe that there has to be some kind of, you know, foregoing of maybe certain comforts that you might have been used to growing up. And that's the challenging thing. People do not want to forego certain, it's like, you know, at the end of the day, right? Let's say I'm from, a middle class family or even a well-to-do poor family, within America, and the big fucking thing of it, as when you compare yourself to the world materially, you actually have a lot more comforts.
Big time.
Yeah. And so they're, it's like,
that we don't interface with, a lot of us are really like up in the cloud where we don't even, not only do we take it for granted, but like on an extra level of like, we just don't see what the other existences are like.
Exactly.
Face to face.
Exactly.
Let alone see it on the screens. Yeah, there's some representation on the screens, but like, yeah.
Yeah, you have to be there to kind of really get the feel for it. You know what I mean?
We're very sheltered from that.
Yes, absolutely. That's why, I always encourage anybody to like visit. If they're going to visit a country, like maybe, like a third world country, perhaps somewhere in, South America, Asia, Africa. So something that's not close to the culture you were raised with.
Yeah.
So it's like, I hear a lot of stories of people, traveling the Schengen region of Europe, which is essentially, the Western Europe. It's like, dude, I've been there too. And it's just like, it's really not that different from America. It's like, oh my God, cultural this, cultural that. Yeah, man. If travel regardless, I'm not saying don't do that, but it's like, the framework of like, oh, the comforts are there, that this is there. Like, no, put yourself in the third world, go to India, go to Pakistan, go to even, go to a lot of places in Africa, go to a lot of places in South America. And I feel like I don't want to paint the image of like every place is like that. And it's all just, village people and like, they're not developed like, we are over here. Mm-hmm. No, there are absolutely very developed parts in all the places I'm naming.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned India, and that's like a very developed nation, right? You wouldn't consider that a third country, would you? I mean, I'm sure there's parts.
No, there are parts that are. So I've never been to. I've seen India. I've been to Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my parents are from. That's where my mom is from. My dad's from Bangladesh.
Okay.
It was all India at one point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, culturally we share a lot, I've genetically speaking, probably more Indian than I am Middle Eastern. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I hate to speak of India, but like I've known enough people from India. I mean, if it's anything, which it is, like Pakistan, dude, like this, like there are very underdeveloped places. There are some slums that you just wouldn't want to walk through. There's just, of like hundreds of thousands, some of even of millions, such as like Orangutan and, in Karachi of like, it's just like, when you're just out in the streets in a very congested place and it's like, you just see how life is there. It's like, it really kind of makes every day almost feel like a vacation. It's like, it's going to like the Bahamas and coming back and be like, oh shit, I'm back here is one thing, but man, go check out a place that's like really just not doing super hot, you know, and come back and you'll be like, holy shit, I have it all. Like, I literally have it all. Like, yeah, man, there are some places in those countries that, not some, a lot of places in those countries that are really, 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 really tough. And, you know, like in the grand scheme of things, like, are we, you know, it's like some of those kids are, you know, the ones making clothes and manufacturing all the shirts that we're wearing right here. And it's like, okay, like in like in the global perspective, it's like, are we okay, you know, for their freedom and for their, I guess, coming up in the world or whatever you want to call it, like their liberation. Like, I think we'd have to be okay with a lot less materially, or like not buying new clothes really too often, not buying, like consuming. Like,
yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah,
but like I think with that we could form really nourishing relationships.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And it's like, to be a therapeutic, relationship based society that is family oriented, that is people oriented. We are oriented with, you know, our health, right? To put our health above, you know, just health, like what that is.
Yeah, to restructure our
mental health, physical
well.
health. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to touch on a couple things, because the idea that we would need to do with less, I think that's a really pertinent reality that is part of the reason why this is such a difficult conversation to move into action, because it's like, oh, what does that mean? Does that, you know, how do we really like break our own addiction to our comfort zones, right? Right. But the idea of like, okay, say all of the current resources got allocated evenly across all 8 billion of us, or however many.
Sure, yeah.
Then like maybe things would go down a bit. Maybe, you know, they would a bit. As far as our access to resources, maybe we would have to share a bit of them, and maybe that would be difficult for people to like lower their standard of living, so to speak. But I think like an even better idea is not so much like this communistic reallocation of what is here, but like reallocating our efforts and our attention into basically what I've heard of as being described as like a solar punk vision. Have you heard of this?
No.
This is the idea of like the marriage between harmony with the earth, a symbiotic relationship with the earth, but in a technological way. Yeah. So really like shifting our technology to develop any part of the world to have like sustainable structures if they so want them. If you want to live off the earth, that should totally be your right to do that as well.
Kind of like a Venus
I mean?
project.
I don't know that term. Yeah, but maybe.
Sort of deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's more so the vision I hold, is like that symbiotic technological relationship, because, you know, we're not going to go back in time. And if we do, that means something really went wrong. You know what I'm saying? As far as technology, there's no like
I'm in
putting
agree.
it back.
Yeah. No.
Unless it burns itself out.
I'm in agreement with you from like a romantic idealist perspective.
Yeah, this is very long.
But you know, we've kind of been saying the same things of like, oh, this piece of technology will make, you know, things easier for us, and it's like, you know, you could even point that out in reading some of Marx. It's like he kind of pointed out, you know, him and Engels, you know, were, you know, just some of many, but, you know, a very distinguished some of many, which is why I'm pointing them out.
Yeah.
Of to say like, yeah, we actually have the technology already and like the means for the world to be able to all have the things that they need. And then now we're here, you know, in 2026, it's like we definitely have that, but still there's all this hate and violence and just, I guess I'm cautious to go that route. It's like, yeah, I think we should utilize the technology we have in order that, you know, kind of what you're saying, like that vision, but I'm not sure how much we should. I don't know how much we should focus on that, because we've been saying it for a while of like, you know, oh, once we get this piece of technology, it'll be good for all humans. And it seems like it's just exploited by some.
Yeah, no, I know. And I think that's part of the Marx philosophy there. Not that I'm an expert by any means, but the idea that, yes, we do have the technology. We have more than we need, way more than we need. As far as technological advancement, the issue being that those productive means are not owned by those doing the labor.
Right.
So that was the whole idea, is like seizing the means of production and whatever, so that we can use it in ways that are actually like egalitarian or like really serving the community and sustainable and like actually fulfilling ways. And yeah, obviously I don't have like the ins and outs of a strategy of like how to reshape the world. However, like I do feel inspired, like imagining how things could be in service to harmony. So I feel like that's more so in service to harmony. So what's that going to take? You know, and that's coming back to the initial part of the conversation of like ridding the parasitic gene within each of us.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's
cleaning
like
ourselves of that
cleaning
hate.
ourselves of the hate of the literal parasites in our gut. You know what I mean? Like literal aspects of our psyche and in our shadow that are still clutching towards things that we know aren't in service of a harmonious, not just collective in the sense of collectivism that we should all be in sacrifice of the greater good, but more so recognizing that my body is a collective. I'm an organism. You know what I mean? Like, and so I'm a part of a grander organism. So to take care of like myself is to take care of the community, and to take care of the community is to take care of myself. You know, ideally, if I'm taking care of a community that doesn't take care of me, that's what we call a cult. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of the sticky areas, like how to get to these places without falling into this pit traps of
like cults.
Just the different manipulative like shadows that are in the human psyche. So it's like, I don't know. I think the shadow work is really primary, but I've been preaching that for a while. I don't really know exactly like where that happens, you know, in sustainable ways, the shadow work. You know what I mean? Like it happens for me in organic ways, but in terms of like really getting
I'm curious what you mean by shadow work. I've heard you
ridding the parasites of the internal, like the spiritual hygiene of like getting our minds right, getting our bodies right, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Healing, being prioritizing health in all the different ways of it. That's the shadow work for me.
Okay.
So maybe a better word of talking about it is just like prioritizing health.
Yeah.
But that feels very generic
just general,
too.
a little general. I think shadow work kind of narrows it to maybe the more mental, psyche, spiritual field of
it also
things.
like points out that there's like guck, that there's ickiness of it, the shadow, like the things we're not conscious of is the shadow work.
So I'd like to like, you know, I completely agree with you that it's primary. I think, you know, the revolution is at first
internal.
Because it's like when you change yourself, right? Or like you have like a little epiphany or something, you know, I'm not sure if you've like had this kind of thing, but it's just like, oh, like something actually changes with you and you see things in a different light. It's like you start to notice you interact with the world differently, that people start interacting with you differently. And it's like, it's all those little minute changes that is the big change, you know, rather than, you know, I think like, it's all good to be, you know, have a vision and be like, I want this to be like this, blah, blah, blah. But again, that's not, I don't think that kind of change is as important as like, you know, figuring the things out, the shadow work, as you're saying, of like, because it's like, if we all do that, then like, you know, everything is changing. It's like, there's this constant thing that I keep hearing, especially within, you know, I guess more, I don't want to bring politics in it, but like more left-leaning circles of like, oh, it all has to change, or we need a entirely new different system for this to work. And, you know, very more like communist adjacent kind of ways of thinking. But like, all of it changes when all of us kind of decide to change at an individual level. It's like, yes, it is all going to change so long as all of us do it. It's not like we all wait for this new economic system and okay, now this is going to work.
To come from the heavens.
Right.
You know, and that's the way that history has shown that communism hasn't worked thus far, because it was attempted to be imposed through military as well, through force, and that's never going to happen. That's never going to be harmonious.
Sustainable change.
Sustainable.
Yeah.
People don't want to be forced into love and harmony. That's not harmony or love. You know what I'm saying?
Not,
So this has to be not just a grassroots, as in let's band together. Mm-hmm. That's part of it.
Yeah.
But to your point, it has to be grassroots in the way that it has to start within the own human individual heart and psyche and soul.
Yeah.
You know, and as you say, like when we change ourselves, we notice the world and we see it through a different light. Mm-hmm. You know, I feel like on a quantum level, like we're changing ourselves. We're doing tiny little timeline jumps into a higher frequency, a higher vibratory field of literally the idea that heaven is here right now, and it's just whether or not we're tuning into it.
Right.
You know, so I think things literally
that resonates.
Reflect literally a new world, a new moment will reflect based on how I'm operating, how I'm vibing. And I know that's hard for me to speak about. And I always feel like that's hard for people to grasp at times, especially if they don't already have their experience of what that means. But just to bring it to that level too, you know.
Well, I think it's something good to speak upon. And it's like, how I see it is like, I don't know, like, I think it's crucial that that we speak upon this, and that also that like, I think about it in like terms of physics, right? Of like, you know, when there's certain amount of pressure, right? It's like, let's say there's more pressure here and less pressure here, right? Naturally, the particles go to equilibrium. Mm-hmm. And so I think about it, it's like, if more of us work on ourselves and like siphon out that ick, that, you know, hate, that ego, whatever the hell, man, just like that bullshit that doesn't need to be there. The more of us that individually do that, right? It's like, let's say people they'll start to, you know, that also might have the ick. They'll start to gravitate. That pressure will like, that space will open up other people to kind of be interested in like, oh, what is love? Or like, what is this space? And it's like, I think it's like, okay, you know, this was the example I was talking to you about earlier about maybe, you know, about just holding space, you know, of like, you know, if I can get myself so secure in the sense of like really just like, you know, strong and like grounded and very clean and like, you know, like I've worked through a lot of the ick, then I can hold space for some of the ick without getting triggered. If I have some of that ick in myself, like, let's say I'm talking to like some, you know, like, oh, this Trump supporter, ICE supporter, blah, blah, blah. They're in their own field of this and that, man. It's like, do I personally perceive a lot of that as a type of ick? Yes. And it's like, you know, as someone that's a person of color, right? It's like, I feel like in some sense I could be susceptible to possibly be triggered by like some sorts of attitudes by that more. Yeah, but like also it's like it's really powerful to like, let's say if someone's being blatantly racist to me or like something like that, if I could be like so secure in myself and be like, hey man, like let's talk through this and that and like just show love. And it's like to be able to do that in itself, it's like that's like that ick going to here, and it's just like, yeah, you know what I mean?
It's almost potentially dispelling the charge because it's not feeding into the story.
Yes.
Whereas like if someone triggers you and someone's ick, someone's ego, and an icky part of someone's ego could trigger an icky part of your ego.
Absolutely.
If they're in resonance.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And it's like, yeah, they may have an icky thing, but it's your own icky thing that's also like meeting halfway in doing this, you know, headbutting
and
thing.
it might not even be halfway. I mean,
Sure.
it might be a little bit more one way, it might be a little bit more other.
Right.
If you can dilute your own ick as much as you can, then like you can provide a certain space that doesn't that acknowledges another ick, but frames it in a different light. Like I think I was telling you, it's like, you know, I found myself in like certain spaces, certain like maybe more conservative spaces. And I feel like I kind of feel like I have to hold it a bit longer in order for a certain amount of an acceptance that someone else might not have to, like, you wouldn't like. Yeah. I like holding a certain space longer, you know, whether because like I'm a foreigner or like I'm not a foreigner, I'm born here, but like whether I'm perceived as a foreigner, whatever the case may be, you know, maybe I have long hair and they don't like hippies.
Right. Whatever it is. Yeah.
Whatever. But like, I've known like, so long as you hold the space and you kind of like really like have that intention of like, no, I want to understand. It's like people like open up and come around. And
people want to be understood.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't want to be dominated.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly. They don't want to be dominated. They want to be understood. Even if they don't know they want to be understood, they want to be understood. And it's like, you know,
it's what the human nervous system wants is, you know, that safety of like feeling safe and being understood, being safe and being held or hugged or, you know, loved in all the different ways. Like, name one human that, whether you want to or not, you like it.
Yeah, whether you want to or not, you like it.
The nervous system likes that stuff.
Absolutely.
You know? I was thinking too of like back to one of our first conversations we ever had was about vulnerability a little bit. And that was before you even told that example. That's what I was thinking of, is like another way of putting it is like, if I give myself the permission to be vulnerable in some way that gives others the permission slip to be vulnerable around me. Right. Because I've like exemplified a safety of like feeling safe in the unknown, feeling safe in the vulnerable, which is this.
There is a discernment that one must practice though when doing that, right?
For sure.
You know, it's like,
not to say that I do that in every single moment, in every single situation, every single person. Yeah.
But like there's a skill to it. Like an emotional kind of skill. It's like, when should I be? Because it's like, there are some situations where I'm like, fuck no, I'm not being vulnerable. That would be, I would be stupid. But like, when you can be, it's good that it's not just good, but even essential that you should be if you are able to be, you know?
Yeah, it's healing and healthy. Yeah. And there's, to represent the other side of it too, there's also times where I don't feel safe to be vulnerable, even amongst people that I love and actually trust. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's the shadow work. It's like, in what ways can I dissipate that built up stubbornness in myself, that I'm trying to keep myself safe by not expressing a certain thing? But it's like, bro, you are safe with us. You know what I mean? How can we encourage feeling that with the people that we love, you know, too? You know, it's just a practice. It's like anything. It's just like, learning a new friend, learning what jives with them, learning a new, you know, having a new romantic partner, you know, like learning people's nervous systems and what works with their bodies and things like that. It's just all part of that dance. It's like having grace for the patience that change takes time, you know? Right. And anyway, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's something I'm definitely learning. Yeah. I'd say a bit more in the recent months.
Yeah, same. It's a journey for sure. Yeah. We really catapulted into a lot of stuff. I see the time is about where I like to be. Yeah. You want to call it? It was here. I typically like to end with asking if there was anything from the conversation that you didn't get a chance to say that came up that you had a thought about, and or if there's just something in general you want to highlight, and if it could be like even framed as like an action step, something, you know, a reminder to take with us type of thing. So just leave you with those prompts.
I think something that, you know, came up and that was, you know, primary interest, I guess, is like, you know, the you know, as as you're saying it, like shadow work and like you know, going through the ick. I think that's something that I feel called to a bit more, not just to kind of understand and even map in a way, and also like encourage, you know, other people to do their own work, whatever that looks like.
Well, let me ask you, what do you feel like that looks like for you? And what would be one thing that sooner than later that you feel more inclined to give attention to? Anything that pops up?
Yeah, I think, what pops up is certain surrenderance.
Okay.
Of, I think lately I've been I'm letting go of a lot of systems of hate, or I don't want to say a lot, but enough to where it's recognizable. But like, the thing is, like, when I say hate, I think I'm letting go of certain defense mechanisms that are a bit more explosive, or a bit more that, like, I can tell that this was here to protect me.
Yes.
But now I have a clarity that in the ultimate grand scheme of things, this is not, it's stirring the shit, it's stirring the ick more.
Yes.
In the grand scheme of things. However, as an individual, it's used to protect me. Right. So it's like, maybe I need to develop certain other types of ways of communicating and learning how to communicate assertively in a way that's not out of, anger, or not to say that there isn't healthy anger.
Right.
But that's not out of that, like,
but not
resentful
as your primary
anger. Yeah.
Okay,
like that, like,
sure.
There's, they say there's two types of anger, two types of like, there's primary emotions and secondary. Like, secondaries are like the ones that we store.
Okay.
Like, that it's a reaction.
Yes.
It's a trigger.
Okay.
I'm poking at something and it's
okay, I got it.
Not like an organic, like,
primary,
healthy emotion. Yes.
Okay.
So it's like to get more in touch with primary emotions and letting go of those, secondary emotions.
Got it.
I think is kind of what I'm trying to say.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And
let me know,
encourage.
off camera and shit, like, in ways I can help support that for sure. You know what I mean?
Cool.
I'm also hearing too, like, I got this image of like, and I love the way that you just had the self-awareness that that's like a protective mechanism for you.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like a character flaw or something that like you can't control or something like that, in the sense that it's just, but that it's a protective mechanism. So to me, I'm having this vision of like, well, you have this big, like, broadsword at your belt that you're like, that's gonna be your primary tool, because that's been your protective mechanism, is this sword. So it's like maybe time to like carve that big boy down to like a dagger and maybe put it in your boot.
Right.
Because you might need that anger in an actual moment of needing that. It's not like just totally sever that, or to potentially even like create a new ick poison, mental poison around, like,
I like to think of it as a sort of Gryffindor. To not really have a sword, but like for it to hopefully come at the perfect time when you need it.
Yes, exactly.
You know what
but
I mean?
More hidden. Put it in the boot. Put it in the back.
Yeah. Like,
it's not gonna have to be like hanging from the hip.
Right there. Like, you know
that
what I
dude's
mean?
got a sword.
He's got a sword. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
because it turns people off.
And at times it can be more damaging than protective.
I think at a lot of times it can be more damaging.
So that's good self-awareness. I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, for me, my highlights for this conversation, I would say, I was really...
Hi, Mom.
Oh, there was one thing that I wanted that came up that I didn't get a chance to fully say, so I'm going to bring it back around to that. And that was the ways that you and I have described aspects of the human spirit that have been overfed, you know what I mean? Because even greed, like, that's also a protective mechanism. Even the parasitic need for nourishment.
Absolutely.
These are real things that are based in real needs.
It's
and not resources. To exercise that and like create. And that's what I was saying to you about, like, not to consider like the angers that might come on the fieriness, not to create, that's a bad part of me, cast it to the shadow. I don't claim that at all. Like, no, there's like a time for it. It's just, when is the time? But anyway, so my thought was that bridging that to technology in the ways that we have, it's made me think, and this could go into a whole nother conversation, so I'll try to keep it concise. But just being aware of the ways that like technology has distanced us from the natural world. Yeah. And to really like, I do hold this vision of the solar punk vision, like, and to your point of like shadow work, I believe, some people might dismiss some of my words as, oh, that's lofty thinking, that's fantasy, that's overly idealistic. Oh yeah, in a perfect world type stuff. To me, it's still valuable to hold a high vision in my mind and in my heart and in my essence, because that literally raises my vibe. Okay. That literally raises my vitality. Mm-hmm. And I can act better in this world if my vitality is higher. Mm-hmm. So bringing that back to the idea of technology, that it can be used in very harmonious ways, but also to be aware of the ways that it takes away our mindfulness, which is to say our presence, feeling the body, feeling what's real in this moment, feeling what the natural world is like. You know what I mean? And also just something that just popped in my brain, so I'll share it real quick.
Yeah, please.
Last night, me and Ryan shoveling 10 inches of snow or whatever, like,
wow, foot.
It felt good to like labor towards something.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed doing that.
Yeah.
It just made me think that like, even when we walked to Kroger, like seeing the other people that were out, like whether they're shoveling or walking back with groceries or something, just like seeing the ways, and when someone gave us a ride back home, like that was very
organic.
It felt like human. Community. Like it felt like it was an like reason to kind of engage with the community. Yeah. And like band together and do stuff locally.
Right.
Not we're all driving to work and we're pissed at all the other people driving to work. And we're all others until we get to our office, and then it's like, how was your drive? Oh, someone cut me off. I was like, like,
and then,
oh yeah, I was the guy to cut someone else off. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, wow, these are actually all humans in all of these different local moments.
Yeah. And it's like to walk down the road and kind of have a more, tangible kind of, view of that. It's grounding.
It was grounding.
And, there's something to be said about how necessity brings us closer together.
Yes.
That can be an entire, own topic, but how the necessity of this storm, how we couldn't, take that car out and drive, how we had to go walk there, how 20 other people had to go walk there. Yeah. It's that kind of brings us together.
And the dude that like did brave taking his car out, like he saw us walking and he's like, oh, these walks look like they're friendly enough. Like he said something about like, you got to get your good karma point somewhere.
Right.
It's like,
I was like, you're going to kill us? And he's like, probably. And I'm like, all right, let's get in the car.
Probably not something a killer would say. So.
Right.
All right, cool. Anyway,
cool.
Yeah.
Yep,
appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Share your story, let it free to be the medicine we both need.